Have you ever had that experience where you're looking at something that it feels like you're seeing it for the first time and someone says, that was always there. Was that really always there? One of the more famous stories in the Bible is the story of the Good Samaritan in Luke chapter 10. And in that story, it actually happens in Samaria. Yeshua is walking with his disciples through Samaria, and one of the Torah scholars approaches him and is wanting to test him. And they begin discussing, what does it mean to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength? What is it to love your neighbor as yourself? And the Torah scholar says to Yeshua, who is my neighbor? And Yeshua answers him with the story of the Good Samaritan. He tells the story. We're familiar with it. A Jewish man is robbed, he's beaten, he's left for dead. And a priest is walking by and passes by on the other side. Then a Levite passes by on the other side. And the one who stops and helps him is a Samaritan, is a person who's an outsider, is a person who maybe not in the group that you're a part of, maybe not in the group that you identify with. And that's the one who helps him. And Yeshua says, who is the one who was his neighbor? He says, the one who showed him mercy, or the one who showed him love. He says, now you go and do likewise. And Yeshua says to him, you go and do the same thing. And we read that story, we hear that story, and we go, wow, Yeshua is really expanding our understanding of what it means to love our neighbor as ourselves. And he's not expanding it. He's pointing back to what was actually always there. But God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And his understanding of what it is to love our neighbor has never been about some exclusive group. It's always been about understanding that you yourselves were outsiders. You were outsiders and you were mistreated by people. And the Lord loved you. He says, I am the Lord your God. I brought you out of Egypt. In Leviticus 19:33, we read, if an outsider dwells with you in your land, you shall do him no wrong. And it means you don't oppress him. You don't take advantage of him. You may know the language. He may not know the language. And you could take advantage of the fact that he doesn't know the language, or he doesn't understand the culture. He doesn't understand the way things are done. He said, if there's an outsider that's sojourning in your midst, you don't take advantage of him. It says, the outsider dwelling among you should be to you as the native born among you. You should love him as yourself. For you dwelled as outsiders in the land of Egypt. I am Adonai, your God. The connection between loving your neighbor as yourself and loving an outsider as though he were native born has always been there. And so the people often missed it. They missed it in practice. It didn't work to their benefit. And so Yeshua didn't come to necessarily teach us something new. He came to bring us back to understand what has always been there, what has always been the heart of God. And there may be things in our lives, things that the Lord's been trying to get our attention about for a long time. Perhaps there are things that have always been there that you and I just haven't seen. And we need to say, Yeshua, speak to me. Lord, speak to me. Show me what you've always been trying to tell me. Help me to get the heart of your word, the heart of your instructions, to love my neighbor as myself.